Welcome to it, sports fans. A different ball game. Monday, the 27th. Good to be here. Alive and well. Went for a run this morning. Absolutely freezing in Johannesburg, by the way. But around the corner, August, it means we now can actually start looking at it, and spring is 1 month away. Because in South Africa, September the 1st. And then we're out there. Then people are, as the youngsters say, we're out here. We're gonna be out here in a month or so. So welcome to it, a different ball game. Great to have you with me. I'm not alone, of course. I've got the wonderful Woude Muller with me, and then later on, got a bit of a legend. Hey, World Cup winner Schalk Brits is joining us. Woude, how are you doing?
Hey, no, I'm great, and I'm so excited about our guest. Very, very excited about him. He's going to give some great insights, and he's one of the best guys. So, hi, Schalk, you're amazing. I'm such a fan. No, and I'm good. I had a great weekend, a good day. Work is busy. As you can see, I've got a new background behind me, for those who haven't noticed, and only looking at me. That's also fine. But I had to make some adjustments, seeing as I can't go back to work and I don't have a space to work from anymore. I had to make some adjustments. I've got people training with me now at my apartment.
Yeah, because some people don't know that you're a glorified personal trainer, also known as a biokineticist.
That is what I do, yes. I am a biokineticist. So I kind of run my practice from here now, seeing as I can't really go to a gym. The gyms are not allowed to open in South Africa.
And folks, over Woude's left shoulder, the now famous bicycle, which she fell off, which is stationary, by the way. Unbelievable news. That is the bike that did all of the damage. The monstrous animal that nearly took Woude's clavicle, separated from her neck. All right, Woude, well, welcome to it. Yeah,
I was telling Mbolelo the story earlier, that how it happened and how I couldn't cleat out in time, so the bike fell on top of me. So luckily, no bruises where anyone can see bruises, but yeah, I'm fine.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, good for you. Good for you. I am also fine. I hope everybody at home is fine. Let's get into it. Monday. Yeah, let's get rolling. So listen, Premier League, unless you're a Liverpool fan, I can't imagine you're happy, except there is, I think, one of the four that we're not expecting to be here that are in it. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to do the headmaster role. I'm going to give grades, and I'll give you where I think everybody can improve going to next season. So let's have a look at the table, right? Premier League table from this season. Liverpool, ridiculous. Right, that's 18 points, 6 victories. You can't do much better than that. Probably the best balance between attack and defense. Not probably, definitely. Right, Jurgen's got the heavy metal on both sides. How does he do it? Rather functional midfield. So 3 midfielders, purely functional. But Liverpool, I mean, look at that. Consistency personified. 99 points. Of course, their heartbreak, once they'd lost that game, they couldn't get to 100. They smashed Chelsea, but it was far too late. But look at that, 99 points, 81 to City. And then in third and fourth, Chelsea and Manchester United tied on 66. United, of course, eclipsing Chelsea for that third spot. Goal difference. Doesn't matter, though. Top 4 all get automatic qualification to the Champions League. Man City, of course, the standout with the goals there. So that's how the table looks. I'm going to tell you how I think every team can grade themselves and then where they can improve. We'll start with the champions. Liverpool, quite unstoppable this season. 99 points. Just ridiculous. Broke every single record on the way. I'd give them an A+. Not quite an A++. I'll tell you why, right? I'll tell you why. So the A+ is purely because I think there is still room for improvement in that side. Number one, they faltered against a couple of teams they shouldn't have. Otherwise, they should have easily got, 102, 105 even? So there is room for improvement there, right? I don't think they'll be ecstatic about it. And they weren't as domineering as probably last year. So let's look at the 3 places where I think they can get better individually. So listen, love Bobby Firmino. Love everything he does, but can they upgrade at striker? Yes. I know he does the hard work. He allows Salah, he allows Mane to do their thing, but you still need a guy who can get you 25 Premier League goals. I don't know if Firmino is that guy. Can they get better at striker? Absolutely. the midfielders are saying all functional, right? Fabinho, Henderson, whoever else they play in the other role, mostly functional, all shuttling. Gini Wijnaldum, there's no real magic man in there. What they do is essentially it's a block of 5 with the 2 centre backs and the 3 midfielders. Is they will cover all the land that the wing backs and the strikers don't have to. But you've seen this season, once they've kind of been figured out, especially in Europe where the teams are a little cleverer, is what do you do when you need that magic ball, right? You need that little magic, turn around the corner. Maybe Lallana was that guy. He was unfortunately injured most of the season. They need a creative midfielder to add to the mix. Now, listen, to get an athletic, creative midfielder is almost impossible. We haven't seen one since, Havertz, he may be going to Chelsea, but we haven't seen one since Kaká. A guy who can really shuttle, get up and down, but can hit a 30, 40-yard ball, a back heel, a little special moment. So that's where I believe Liverpool can improve, is getting a creative midfielder. And here's the hilarious part. The guy who just won Football Writers Player of the Year is, I think, where they can upgrade. Is you could probably get yourself a better player than Henderson and just get anyone else the captain. Virgil van Dijk could be the captain. So I think they could improve at striker, a creative mid, and upgrade on Henderson. I think it was a sympathy call. Right, it's just great to have an English captain, right? His kind of story. The Football Writers Award, really, every year for Player of the Season, it's more of a narrative award. It's never the best player. There's no way Jordan Henderson's the best player. He's not even the best player in his own team. Stop it. Sadio Mane is maybe the best player in the world right now. Stop it. All right, second, where do I think City can improve? How would you grade their season? All right, I think they've had a good one, but it's a D. It's quite simple. It's a D, right? You cannot go from the season you had last season to what we've seen this season. It's been shambolic. I mean, for goodness sake, they even lost to Chelsea. Are you kidding me? You can't have that, right? And where can they improve? Left back. Listen, the Schalk, I like him. He's big on Instagram, but he's not the guy. Pep Guardiola's gone from Jordi Alba, David Alaba to this guy. End product isn't there. Does he whip in a great ball? Yes. Decision-making, not great. Defense, not great. Jordi Alba, outstanding. Alaba, probably the best in the world. They can improve at left back. Centre back, you can't reply. I've always said this. The greatest ability in sport is availability. I can't rely on Laporte. So you got to upgrade there. So Laporte needs to be your third guy. Yes, he's your best centre back, but he needs to be your third guy. They got to get probably 2 at centre back, because John Stones is a shambles. That you can't have that under Pep. You've got to be able to rely on him. You can't go from Gerard Piqué to this guy, right? Garcia, maybe, is he ready? I don't know, because Pep's expectations right up here. There's no room to develop under Pep Guardiola. You got to be the complete item. So left back, centre back, and they got to improve it at holding mid. Who's there? It's a big hole. Fernandinho, I'm afraid, is more of a dressing room captain than being a player. That athleticism is no longer what it was, but he's a brilliant, brilliant player, and certainly not a centre-back. Rodri, it ain't going to work. He's not it. Nice for backup, or maybe you play in a double pivot in the 6th position, but not on his own. They blow by him. His problem is much like Jorginho, is once the game gets stretched, you become athletic, you blow by him, and he's useless. No good. Third place, Manchester United. How do we grade their season, and how do we think they can improve? Look, I think United were all right, but they'll be happy. It's an A for United. And I know a lot of United fans think I'm trolling them or I'm trying to be funny, but for United, by United standards, currently, it's an A. Stop thinking you're Alex Ferguson's United. You are this version of United. You haven't won a title for 7 seasons, and you've been in the Premier League twice in 5 years. In the Champions League. It's an A. There's no way any United fan at the beginning of the season expected to be top 4. Not if they're realistic. So it's an A. You've made top 4. You've come 3rd. It's unthinkable. It is unthinkable. A tremendous season for Manchester United. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who we'll speak about at a later stage, congratulations to him. But where do I think they can improve? Goalkeeper. Straight away. David De Gea, you're awful. Get out. I don't need to say anything about that. At centre-back, they need a plan, because we've now seen, I hate to go on about it again, broken record, availability is the greatest ability. Who's the other guy? Lindelof picks up knocks. Bailly, injury machine. Jones, sick note. Got to get another centre-back. Got to get another 2 centre-backs. You can't win the Premier League. You can't compete in the Premier League without 2 decent backups. Can't happen. Left back, Luke Shaw. It's unbelievable. The guy's unfit. He's constantly getting cramps. It's ridiculous that he's overweight at Manchester United. Luke Shaw's got to, I wouldn't say he's got to go. He's had a good season, but he's shown you he can't stay fit. He cannot stay fit. And then we saw it. They tried to rotate against Chelsea. Once you take off the United front 3, it's not the same team. Once it's not Martial and Rashford together, you saw it against Chelsea. Impotent. Completely impotent and blunt. Can't have that. So they must improve up front. Sancho, maybe. Whatever they can do to get cutting edge off the bench. In the midfield, once Bruno's not playing well, I think Pogba I've said enough about. I don't want to make this all about Paul Pogba, but he's not the guy. Pogba's not the guy. Come on. We've seen when Bruno fails, it's bust. So for me, United, those are the places you can improve. Left back, centre back, goalkeeper without a doubt. And you're going to need some squad depth. You're going to need some squad depth. It's not going to work how it is now. All right. And in 4th place, the Blues of West London. How do we grade their season? I think they've been okay. But new manager, Frank Lampard, has been unbelievable. Remember, they had a transfer ban. Clubs like Manchester United have spent £200 million this season to be where they are. Chelsea have spent exactly 0. It is incredible. It is absolutely incredible what Lampard has done. Rookie manager. But where can they improve? Goalkeeper. Listen, anybody below 190, I hate to say it again. I don't hate to say it again, because the best way to learn a simple message is repetition. Anybody below 190 for me is not a goalkeeper. I don't want to talk to you. I don't care how good you are. I'm not interested. Unless your name's Iker Casillas reincarnated, I'm not in. Where can Chelsea improve? Goalkeeper. Kepa Arrizabalaga is the worst goalkeeper Chelsea have ever had. Listen to this. Kepa Arrizabalaga this season has conceded 8% of Chelsea's goals in the history of their Premier League reign since 92. So in one season, this goalkeeper has conceded 8%. 8%. No good. Too short, no good, and he doesn't give you anything in terms of playing out from the back. CB, listen, you need another one. I don't mind the 4 that they have now, but you need another one. Because like I said, you need 2 to start, 2 to rotate, if you want to win, and that is the expectations under Roman Abramovich. Zuma, great. I'm okay with Zuma. Got a mistake in him, but I like the athleticism. Much like Virgil van Dijk. Got a mistake in him, but the athleticism, he can cover up for it, and he's a unit. Rudiger, I'll take as the leadership. Christensen is excellent if you want to play 3 at the back and you want to play a little bit more football out the back, but you need another world-class option to bring off the bench or start. Left back, it's a shambles. Listen, the problem with Alonso is he can't play in a back 4. He can only play when he's wing back and there's 3 at the back. That's a problem. Right wing, they must replace Willian. They must replace Willian. 9 goals in the Premier League this season and just unbelievable work rate. Hudson-Odoi is a different guy. He's more of a right winger. Willian's more of a right midfielder. So he's a right back stream because he will drop, but he'll give you end product with Willian, and Willian can carry the ball. That's huge, remember, for a counter-attacking team. Hudson-Odoi doesn't help you in a counter-attacking team. Is he wants to be set up on the edge of your box, and he wants to take on a defender one-on-one. So you need that option. You need to replace Pedro. You need to replace Willian. That, for me, Dave, let's quickly run through it again from the top. Liverpool, where can they improve? And then we will hand it over to Woude Muller. So I think from the top, Liverpool, a striker, midfielder, captain. Right? A+, great season. Man City, where can they improve? It's a D. It's been a shambles of a season. The Schalk, no good at left back. Don't love him. Instagram, too loud. Bring it down on Instagram. Start focusing on the field because he's been awful this season at left back. Centre back must improve. Where can United improve? It's an A, keeper, centre back, left back, squad depth. They must do something about the squad depth. We saw against Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final when they rotate anything like a rotation. And it's awful. It's awful. They spit the dummy. And then the Blues, where can they improve? Arrizabalaga got to go. Add another option at centre back. They need to sell Emerson and Marcus Alonso. Of the two, I'd stick with Alonso. Emerson's got to go. He's You know what I mean? I'd sell him for a bag of balls. Listen, I'd drive him to the airport. That must improve. And as I said, a season for Frank Lampard. Congratulations to those top 4. Would love to know what people think. Where do you think the teams can improve? All right, in terms of improving, listen, here's a man who did it at the very top of the game forever. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up after this, World Cup winner. He will join Woude Muller in the skip pass, but they are coming up after this break. Ladies and gentlemen, Schalk Brits cannot wait to hear from him.
Hi. I had a great weekend and I loved watching the rugby this weekend. But what I really, really don't like is being wrong. And I got a few picks wrong on my Super Brew. They weren't exactly great. Obviously, the Waratahs and the Rebels. Rebels won that one pretty convincingly. And then, of course, the Crusaders and the Canes. I was pretty convinced on Thursday that the Crusaders will win this one, but they didn't. And the Canes did really well. I'm not taking anything away from them. But what I did get right about them is I did say on Thursday that the battle will be with the back row. And the back row of the Canes were absolutely, absolutely incredible. I think the Crusaders really struggled there, and I did say that on Thursday. What I also did say on Thursday is that the Hurricanes will win the battle in the midfield. I thought Jack Goodhue really wasn't great. He missed some crucial tackles. And Luamape and Umaga Jensen just kind of ran the show in the midfield. So besides that, I mean, the Canes broke the 36 match record of the Crusaders. And actually, funnily enough, they were also the last team to beat them in 2016 before their kind of streak started. And then, of course, if you have to go after that game and then watch Brumbies and Force game, I mean, it's just not fair to have to watch a game like that after such an incredible, incredible game between the Crusaders and the Chiefs. And then, of course, we had the Blues and the Blues and the Chiefs on Sunday. Sorry, the Canes and the Crusaders on Saturday. So the Blues and the Chiefs game was also quite an interesting one for me. And I think I didn't really enjoy watching it that much. I got really irritated with the referee. I thought they were extremely inconsistent around the breakdowns. They missed a lot of offsides. And of course, that last try that the Blues basically, I think, scored, the fact that the referee didn't go upstairs for that call, go to the TMO to double check that, I think it's just unacceptable. This is now the second time that the Chiefs have kind of lost the match because of a TMO technicality. And I have no idea why the referee would not go upstairs in that instance. I also don't know how good you stayed on his feet. How do you tackle a player, you release the player, you go back in with like 6 guys behind you, and you manage to stay on your feet to do a turnover? That didn't happen. So no idea why why the Blues got that penalty right at the end to beat the Chiefs in that game. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I do have the very amazing Schalk Brits with me today to kind of help me through this not understanding. So Schalk, maybe you can give me some insights into what is going on around the breakdowns. What are the referees doing? And how will this be corrected, this inconsistency?
Well, let me not start about refs. It's always been quite a tricky situation, even being on the wrong side when you're a touring team in New Zealand. But I guess they feel the same coming back over here. Refs is human, and as soon as you can accept that and accept they will make errors, then it's a lot easier as a player to try to get with that.
But then on the other hand, you have your TMO, so why not go up to the TMO? That's the whole reason why they're there, surely. It's to help the referee with those scores that they're not 100% sure about.
I agree 100%. If you've got, and that sometimes happens where the ref doesn't use the tools available. We've been in a situation where I can't understand why they want to make a decision, although there is sometimes from the refereeing body for the refs to make decisions on the pitch and not refer every decision to the TMO. But for me, if it's a vital decision, especially at the end of the game, use it.
I mean, that was literally win or lose. That the Chiefs would have won that game if that didn't happen. And I feel the referees are kind of with the breakdowns doing this. Which way am I going to give the penalty now? So as a player, that must be so frustrating.
It was extremely frustrating as a rugby player, but sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. For me, it's always been, as players, you want consistency. If a ref starts, like Garcia, for example, be quite strict at the breakdown, then he needs to stay consistent through the whole game. Where if a ref changes his opinion or goes with his emotions, then it becomes very difficult.
But then also, I think, and this is actually something that I said last week, is that I wonder now if Ian Foster is having this whole situation where he might have been thinking, like, I picked my captain too early, because I think Sam Cane has not really stepped up to that, having to take over from these incredible captains that the All Blacks had before. And even now at the Chiefs, I don't think that Sam Cane has really done that. And on Saturday, he proved that to me again. I think the penalty count was, at the end of the match, 15-6. The Blues gave away 15 penalties, and only right at the end that the referee gave a yellow card. So as a captain, surely he should have stepped up and go and talk to the ref. And especially with this call, why didn't he go and say to the ref, go upstairs? Surely that's his responsibility as a captain.
Yeah, that's very valid points. It's the unfortunate thing. He's on a baptism of fire at the Chiefs at the moment. When unfortunately you've got a bad run and it's not going your way. Last week's interview afterwards, he referred to going back to the drawing board and seeing why they don't win or cross the finish line and always lose the game in the end. I think Sam having that responsibility isn't as natural as the previous captains, and hopefully, New Zealand don't lose that much, but hopefully you can learn through this. I think it's 7 games now that they've lost in a row. So hopefully the team can get behind him and help him, because captaincy isn't just a single figure trying to run the show. It's actually your supporting base that's very important.
Well, that's one thing that was definitely there at the Springboks. So you can definitely tell us a little bit more about the supporting base, and I will definitely ask you about that a little bit later. But yeah, I just feel, especially if your team is losing like that and you are going to be the Springbok with the All Blacks, you have to be able to step it up. Even though your team is losing, even though you've lost 7 in a row, you can't all of a sudden just sit back and be like, okay, well, my team's losing. What's the point? And I just feel that he hasn't stepped up. And I think the captains from the other franchises, even Tua Paloti for the Blues, I think he was absolutely brilliant and he kept the energy up. The way the Highlanders came back last week with Aaron Smith, having that energy and bringing a team back from being so far behind. And I just don't feel he's doing that. If this was a test match and he doesn't take that call upstairs, I mean, you can't really count on a guy like that.
Yeah, I hate to agree with you. It's definitely about energy and presence. A guy like Martin Johnson, he didn't have a lot of energy, but he had a presence. Sam currently doesn't feel he's got that energy like the other teams or captains. And I would say, for me, it's beautiful rugby to watch currently. The way the Hurricanes, the Blues, the Crusaders play. Unfortunately for the Chiefs, it's not going their way, but the brand of rugby is very exciting. One thing that you did touch on earlier is definitely the inconsistency in certain of the games. But to compare the games I see in New Zealand with the Australian games, it feels it's worlds apart.
Oh, you can't compare. It is really difficult watching in a New Zealand game and like the quality that you get from a Crusaders and Hurricanes game. And then having to, like I said, having to watch the Force and the Brumbies play. And I think we give the Australians a lot of flack. I do think they are very individual, balanced. Hear me out. There are some individual, brilliant players that are coming through, and a lot of youngsters are coming through. But how do you motivate those Australian players? How do you motivate them with everything going on in Australia? What would you say would need to change?
I think it's a cultural thing. I think for example, in South Africa now, with winning the World Cup and the build-up to the World Cup, you've got a lot of kids very excited about rugby. And I think it's the same with rugby's always been a religion in New Zealand, where in Australia, it's been, I think, 6th or 7th most popular sport. So, and it hasn't been, the Wallabies hasn't been playing great rugby. I don't know how to change it. It's just a question of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing great rugby by the New Zealanders, entertaining, throwing the ball around, a high skill set where I just don't feel the same kind of excitement and entertainment when I watch the Australian game.
Yeah. No, it's I feel really bad, but I really don't like watching the games at all. But another thing that also from this weekend that I found really bad is after one of the Chiefs players scored a try, Caleb Clark to the wing for the Blues, he went and he jumped on top of this player after the player scored a try, and he actually injured him. I think it was Aliamoa, and he actually injured him. And Aliamoa had to leave the field after that. And how do you not give a yellow card for that? I think, again, he should have stepped up. And the Blues only got a yellow card right at the end, I think, with 2 minutes left to play.
Yeah, for me, that drives me absolutely bonkers. Someone scored a try, leave him, let him be. It's done now. Not that I scored a lot of tries in my whole career, but that has happened. I'm like, come on, man, it's done now.
What else
so definitely from that perspective.
What else drove you bonkers? Name three things that made you absolutely insane.
I got punched a couple of times by Bucky's Buerta in a scrum where I couldn't defend myself. That was definitely one of the worst experiences I've ever had. Refs that's inconsistent, and not having beers after a game. That's the three things that drive me crazy.
Why no beers after a game? I can understand the Bucky's Buerta punching. I can understand the inconsistency of it. Why no beer after a rugby game?
You know, it's for me. I started playing rugby because I love it. You know, it's if you have a bad day at the office and you played badly, fair enough. But if you played well and you still lost the game and the boys put in their effort, you know, then for me it's just nice sitting back, having a chat with a guy next to me, my teammates, either telling about how I got smashed or how I tried to smash someone and was unsuccessful. But all those kind of things, you know, that there's so much banter that you can't see on TV that happens. And for me, it's just always nice. Just sitting, I can remember always sitting next to Schalk. He loves a beer 10 times more than I do. And just sitting next to the bloke and having a beer and talking about the game, you know, it's for me, it's that 10 minutes after game, either having it with opposition or with your teammates is for me always a special time.
How many times did you miss a punch?
I can tell you one thing. I've got punched in my life. Maybe I just got this please punch me kind of face, you know. I got punched a lot more than I dished out.
Oh, really? Did you try to dish out more and you just didn't connect? Or did you just...
That has happened. But yes, it's the lefty. I'm not. I always try to hit with the wrong hand.
Okay. Well, I can teach you. I'm doing a bit of boxing now, so I can help you. Listen,
as you can see, this eye, I don't know how good the video is. So it was a great punch, but this eye doesn't function anymore because I had an orbital fall fracture. So there's so many times that you get. I mean, this nose. I'll tell you, I was a lot prettier when I started playing rugby than I am now.
He punched you in the eye that is not working anymore.
I can't remember. It was a prop of Gloucester, I think. That it was just a good shot, and I just thought it's a good shot, and I just left it. And after it was over the winter season in the UK, and I love my golf, and I tried to line up a putt. And as I looked up, just the ball looked like double vision. I thought, yes, I haven't been drinking any G&Ts. Why am I seeing double vision here? And then I went to the doctor after the round of golf, and he said, I don't think this eye's working. And then he goes, you had an orbital floor fracture. We went for scans, and I tried to get it fixed. They had an operation, but as you can see, it hasn't worked.
Well, you still came back and you still won a World Cup with that eye. So I'm just going to leave it there.
Yes, I'll take it.
Yeah, normally on a Monday night, I actually pick my team of the weekend. So I kind of look at their stats and I look at everything. So I'm going to quickly do my team. So starting with my props, Dave is going to put it up, and you can agree or disagree with me. I love it when people disagree because I want to prove you wrong.
I'm just the big question I've got on your team selection. Is it facts based, or is it actually you just like the guy in the short pants or the tight pants or the nice hairstyle? What is the criteria for picking a team?
Well, I actually look at their stats. And I actually compare them statistically to each other, every single player, and I go from there why I've picked them. I don't pick any players who ever got yellow cards. I don't get any, and I kind of pick a fantasy team. So it's not a specific position; it's just kind of a fantasy. So, so I'm starting with my prop. I went with Fuanga Fassi from the Blues. I thought he was absolutely just brilliant, and that build up to the Christie try was incredible for me. He had a massive tackling count, 10 out of 10. Why are you laughing at me?
So normally, I can't really say this as I was not the normal hooker, just pushing and scrumming and mauling. But I'm glad you're showing or you're focusing on that props skill set and not his scrumming or lifting capability.
Well, actually, then my other prop, Sealy from the Rebels, is exactly the reason why I picked him. He has 6 runs, 32 meters for a prop. I mean, he's such a fun player to watch. When with ball in hand, he really just proves that he's actually got quite a lot of skill. And I'm loving players that can play like that. And this is also a reason why I picked Eklund. He had 13 out of 13 tackles for my hooker. He won 7 out of 8 lineouts. I could have probably gone with him more than that. I think Dan Coles, since he got injured and can't play anymore for them, I think he was absolutely brilliant. But Eklund, I think also probably a reason why I picked him is the way that he downed the power rate right at the end.
That's my top player.
I think that's why I picked him over any of the other hookers this weekend. The locks, I went with Matt Phillips from the Rebels. And he is the kind of like lock loose forward that I'm kind of liking at the moment. And I do have a question about this for you later, so remember this. So Matt, I think he was a standout player for the Rebels in the forward pack. He impressed at the line-out. He kept getting back on his feet. So he would make a tackle, he would be in the breakdown, he would get up and move to the next one. So he would just be ready for the next ball. Like, I think he had touched the ball 5 times in 7 runs or something. It was absolutely insane, just the way that he works. But what was even more impressive about him is the work that he did off the ball. Literally just getting from breakdown to breakdown, making the tackle, getting up, getting the ball. So that's a lot of people would probably have gone for Whitelock in this instance, but I think Matt Phillips picked that one. And then obviously Patrick Tiapolotu from the Blues.
He's had a great season so far.
He's been brilliant all round, great season. He's really just made that step up, and he's a great captain. I think he's really been a great captain for the Blues, and the Blues are doing so well. He's been brilliant at the lineouts. He actually won the last lineout and secured the ball for the Blues to win. So I think he deserves his place there. My Lucy's, I went with Ardie Savea. Spoke about him last week. I definitely think Ardie Savea is, He should have won World Player of the Year. I'm sorry to say, but he should have. I went with
I disagree.
I know.
The one thing I love about him is I know people see him as an impact player, but the amount of work ethic he's got in 80 minutes, I can't see how you don't want him on the pitch for as long as possible.
No, absolutely. And I think I actually mentioned his stats last week, and I wish I actually had it up now. But every time he's just ball in hand, he's absolutely brilliant. His tackle rate, his tackle count is, I think it was like 90%. It's insane. Just on both sides of the ball, he's literally just picking it up and proving that he's such a brilliant player and why he deserves his place in the All Black side. Although I did my other Lucy that I picked was Lachlan Bosche, and I keep picking him week after week after week for my team. And he's probably the best number 6 in New Zealand at the moment. So if you have him as your number 6, you have Adi Sevilla as your 8, and then you have all those other players like Shannon Frizzell, can play 7. Again, do you have space for your captain in your All Black team?
It's a tough decision to make, and that's always, I guess, always with New Zealand teams. It's hard to get in that 15-man team, and who's the guy from the 8 of Blues? He's been pretty impressive as well.
From who?
From the Blues.
The number 8.
Yes.
Satotu. Yeah, he's been brilliant.
Yes.
Satotu. Absolutely.
Massive boy.
Oh, yeah. And it's so great that all of these youngsters are coming through. What I am picking up also from this is that because it's New Zealand teams playing New Zealand teams all the time, you kind of, the big names are not standing out that much anymore. And all these youngsters and people that you wouldn't maybe have looked at before actually really proving to maybe those other guys are not that far ahead anymore. And this is what I'm loving about the New Zealand competition at the moment. And it might be pretty similar in South Africa, because then you actually see the depth that you have in your country and that you can have in your All Black side. I think it's a difficult decision for Ian Foster to make now, picking an All Black side now. Be very difficult.
Yeah, the one thing I don't know, watching New Zealand rugby, if it's, I know they smash a lot of teams by a lot of points, but it doesn't look like Test match rugby. For me, I love Super Rugby. I love what I'm seeing at the moment. I love the brand of rugby the New Zealanders are playing, but I don't know if it's conducive to Test match rugby, where Northern Hemisphere rugby is almost like, I'm talking from a club perspective, prepares you for Test match rugby, where what I'm seeing now, it's great and entertaining, but like you saw in the semi-final when New Zealand played England, they knew how to grind out a game.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
That's true. And I'm going to ask you, you're basically almost answering all my questions that I want to ask you. So keep quiet. Anyway, my other Lucy that I've picked is a Samu from the Brumbies. I thought just every time that he got the ball, his strength, he was really a handful for the force defense. And obviously we know the force defense wasn't great, but he definitely contributed to that. Yeah. My scrum half, I went with Powell from the Brumbies. I also thought, again, he controlled that game through the entire night. He really made an impact from that scrum half point of view. Fly off, can you go with anyone else but Richie Mo'unga?
Special kid.
Where is there space for Beauden Barrett in the New Zealand team at the moment? Richie Mo'unga, he has to wear the number 10 jersey. You can't deny that anymore.
There was nothing on, and he made a 30-meter right-handed pass that scored in the corner. The guy is just special. What a rugby player.
Yeah, if we think about him and we have to talk about him, we have to talk about the George Bridge try. Richie Mo'unga making the pass, wow. George Bridge ball bouncing. What a footballer. I thought that was such a brilliant try. I loved it. You have to.
And it was his left foot. I don't think he's left-footed either. And that was, it was pretty special. I always wish I can score a try like that, but that was pretty special.
Yeah, and Senzo Sativa, I agree with you. We have to talk about George Bridge. It was absolutely insane. I didn't, however, pick him for my outside backs for my team of the week. But so if I have to go to my midfielders, I went with Anton Leonard-Brown. I thought he was pretty decent. Don't think his meters made and runs went incredible, but I thought he was solid enough in that midfield for the Chiefs. And then Umaga Jensen from the
Sorry,
Hurricanes.
just on that. The thing is, he always gets momentum, so he always puts his team on the front foot, and it's hard when you've got. Although you say he's steady, but he just keeps on coming, and his decision making on D is phenomenal as well.
Yeah.
So although it is now looks steady, but he is special.
Yeah. Obviously, also you can, and I've been talking about Leomape a lot because I think Leomape is all of a sudden really stepping it up and working on the aspects that he's not been great at, like his defense. It's such a pity that he got injured because I think him and Umaga Jensen made such a brilliant midfield pair and center pair. He unfortunately fractured his wrist now, so that pairing has to end. But Umaga Jensen, he's 22 years old. He's just getting better and better every single week. Really love watching him play. He had a try assist. He's just been brilliant every single week. And especially last week, the two of them made my team of the week. Outside backs, I went with Wright from the Brumbies. He had 130 run meters made. I think the next best in that game was 50 meters. Yeah. Severese, you can't leave him out. Scored a great try to almost get the Crusaders back in it. And then Wes Goosen, obviously, maybe because he's got South African blood in him. He had 2 tries, and to score two tries against the Crusaders has to say something. He's a strong runner, but not just 2 tries. He also had 10 out of 11 tackles, and that for an outside back, for a wing. It's quite an incredible feat. So really enjoyed watching him play. So you lose Cobus van Beek, who's also South African, and you get Wes Goosen. So not bad for us South Africans over there.
I'm trying to see how many New Zealanders and Australians you've got on this team.
Yeah, so don't comment on that because, like I said, I am looking for individual brilliances from the Australian players. Although the rugby might be not great to watch, it is still good to see some youngsters coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to hammer on this, but I just... They just watching the games. I don't know. Sometimes they say when you play against a better team, you play better. But once again, there's worlds apart between the 2 leagues for me.
But that's why I look at the stats. That's why I look at the run meters and I look at those things. Because if you have to look at the quality, you're not really. Then it would probably be a full Crusader side. And maybe
Hurricanes. They beat the Hurricanes this weekend.
I know. That was great. I didn't call it. I had a terrible Super Brew picks this weekend, but
okay.
Yeah.
So just a question on stats, because you quite focus on the stats. Do you go then on probabilities? So you don't actually look at form. You just go, okay, this team has beaten, like the Crusaders beaten the Hurricanes for the last 6 years. I'm just going to go with the favorites. So then your odds will be in your side, wouldn't it?
No. I just really like the Crusaders. The Crusaders have been playing some brilliant rugby, as we know. Yeah. Although I must say that I actually did make a bet with a friend, because on Saturday morning when I woke up, I was like, I just had this feeling that the Hurricanes are going to do this. Because on Thursday, I was talking about Du Plessis, Karifi, Ardie Sevilla, and who's the other outside back? The back row. Anyway, I spoke about them. And I was like, this is where the Crusaders might just lose it because that back row is absolutely incredible. And then the midfield, obviously with Braden Enna being injured, I also say that that's where they're going to struggle. And that's exactly what happened. So Jack Goodhue didn't step it up. He's one of the guys that I'm talking about. Now all of a sudden that you're seeing these New Zealand sides playing each other, the people who did play in the All Blacks squad or in the All Blacks World Cup, you're like, sure, maybe it's not the best anymore. And Goodhue is a perfect example of it. Yeah. So, but now we obviously spoke about the regulations and we spoke about this. And how do you think the Springbok players will deal with these new regulations if it becomes a permanent rule?
Yeah, I think all the players now just want to get onto the pitch. talking to a lot of the players, they're fed up with doing preseason, second preseason, and one season. They just want to play rugby. They don't want to run. They don't want to do bleep tests. They don't want to do any kind of fitness. They want to get stuck in. And as a rugby player, you train to play rugby on weekends. I mean, me personally, I hated training. I just wanted to play in rugby on Saturdays and kick the ball around, do a couple of offloads, and hopefully score some tries. And from that perspective, I think a lot of our rugby players will just, but they want to get stuck in.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they're not going to really play before October, because now you have to still train and then be allowed to do contact and then play some games. And how are we going to play what they were talking about, having the rugby champs at the end of the year in New Zealand? There's no way we can play a New Zealand side now.
No, I hopefully thought they can sort of bring us into the autumn internationals in the UK, but I just saw Japan and Fiji joining the Six Nations. So the only way we can go is east or west, and for the New Zealand teams to have such a run up to that competition, and they're going to be smelling some blood after the World Cup. It's going to be tough for us to get stuck in. For the South African teams, Currie Cup starting, you've got 3, maybe 4 teams. That's fantastic. 3 maybe, compared to looking at the New Zealand sides, that's all on par. It's going to be tough to. For me this season, by far New Zealand, Storm has got the best squad. I would like to see what Jake does with his new Bulls team combination. It's nice seeing Dwayne back playing in South Africa. And then for me, the surprise package in the beginning of the season was the Sharks. I mean, they were a young group of players and a new coach, and they were just on fire. So I'm looking forward to seeing those 3 teams. The Lions lost a lot of players, and that's going to be tough. And then the other spots will just be filled with the rest.
But so obviously Jake has been signing quite a lot of older generation players for his team. Are you thinking about making a comeback?
No, I'm done. I'm totally done. It's I'm
Dan Carney came back. Adam John Thompson just played his 100th Super Rugby match at the age of 38. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Well, I'm 39, by the way, and I'm trying to get understanding how's TDs and get my head around accountancy. So that's going to take evaluation. So that's taking a lot of time. And the thing is, I'm almost 10 kilograms lighter. So it's I'm going to leave it to the big boys to smash each other, and I'm going to sit back, have a beer, and watch rugby with my boys.
Fair enough. I was just trying to see if we can draw you back in. Are you not planning on coaching rugby at all? Are you not planning on getting involved from a mental perspective? Because that is something that you're pretty good at, as we all know.
I love chatting to the boys. I mean, people make my world go around, and from my perspective, people has got the power to change things, not systems, but people. And for me, getting involved with rugby is not the right time. And I want to have weekends with my family. I mean, I did have a 20-year career where my 3 boys and my wife had to sacrifice me never being at home. And now it's my turn to be at home, try to do the normal 8 to 5, although there's never something like 8 to 5, but getting my head around that and giving that a shot.
Fair enough. But then what is your opinion on this whole, so obviously all of these things came out that South Africa is not going to be part of Super Rugby anymore, and we're going to move into the Northern Hemisphere. So first, what is your opinion on that? Secondly, taking money completely out of this. So let's take the money out, let's take the traveling out of it. Don't talk about that. How is playing in the Northern Hemisphere going to change South African rugby? Will we adapt to it a little bit better because we play because obviously we know the Northern Hemisphere, like you said, play a bit more test match kind of rugby. Maybe you can explain to us the difference between test match rugby and kind of the Super Rugby that you're seeing now. Is that going to suit South African rugby style better than playing against New Zealand's teams?
The one thing, well, let me roll this.
I think I lost you. Sorry, Schalk, will you just repeat that? I think we lost you there a little bit.
All right.
Technical difficulties like the TMOs this weekend with the rugby matches.
All right, we got Schalk back.
If I get that. Going up north is the way to. Can you guys hear me?
Sorry, Schalk, we lost you. We lost you there. We're going to get you back on, and we'll let you do your thing. Take it away.
Okay.
Okay. So you can start again, please.
Okay. Sorry for the. I'll start again. So the weird thing is when I left South Africa in 2009, it was a lot of supporters. There was 40,000 people on average at Newlands. You know, it was such a big thing. The crowd, it's always been amazing playing at Newlands. And then coming back in 2019, and there is between 5,000 and 15,000 people at Loftus playing for the Bulls. And sort of the whole competition got a bit stale. Although the game was still great, it was just a bit different. But going north is a way, I personally think. There's no jet lag. It's an overnight flight. Test match rugby, you've got promotion relegation, so every game matters. Even if you play the bottom side and the bottom side plays the middle side, you don't want to be relegated. And that makes a big difference. That's how you play test match rugby. And with the conditions, you play from great weather in June to August, roundabout till the worst weather ever, where it's raining buckets, it's snowy, it's cold in Jan and Feb, and then end of the season when it's June again, or May, June, then it's beautiful weather again. And for me, it's there. You know how to grind games out, and I think I've always said it from the beginning. We need to go north to improve our game. It doesn't fit for us to go again. Have we lost me?
No, I haven't lost you. So my cat is like putting a tail in my face.
I can't see the video, so yeah.
I know.
Going north is the way to go. I wish I could see the cat.
She is behind me here. Actually, finally, she's made it into a show.
Oh.
There we go.
Before lockdown, I bought a dog called Tokyo. The kids named the dog Tokyo.
Like, well, obviously, very special time in Tokyo, but from a quality point of view, that's what I'm asking about from the rugby. Yes, traveling time is great. Yes, you play in the different things, but the quality of rugby that you're getting in the Northern Hemisphere compared to what we would get playing against Australia and New Zealand, not necessarily Australia, but New Zealand is that going to make us better or worse than what we are now?
I think it will make us better. I don't think going to... Well, anyway, we only play half of the New Zealand sides now as the current setup is last year. And for me, it's rather take the Springbok side there for a 3-test series than take the Stormers or the Bulls or Sharks or whoever. Up north is the way to go. It teaches you to play a style of rugby that in the summer you have to throw it around a bit. In the winter you have to be conservative. It teaches you how important scrummaging, mauling, your line-up to set piece are compared to in the Southern Hemisphere. If you look at the final, our set piece won us the final. The way our front row or the pack scrummed and mauled, that gave us opportunities to launch from there and gave us advantage. If you can get that right, like they say, I know from a stats perspective, you can work this out. I've never seen a team. I think we had 6 scrum penalties against England. I've never seen a team lose when they've got 6 advantages from scrums. the distance you get from kicking into corners, getting points, is very hard to come back from.
And on that, and especially now England and winning the World Cup, at which point did you know or did South Africa know that you were going to win the World Cup? Because obviously, I think seeing what they did against New Zealand and seeing how they beat them, did you start doubting a little bit then, or did you still just believe we're going to do this? And then obviously in that week in the build up to the final, I've read now what did England firstly do? Were they that arrogant that they thought there's absolutely no way we're losing this? And then rocking up 30 minutes late for warm up on the day of a Rugby World Cup final? Were they just that arrogant? Did you guys pick that up? Did you know? And was that like, no, we've got this?
No, it's quite funny. People ask us a lot, what have we changed from the semi-final playing such a boring game of rugby to the final?
Yes.
And we couldn't change anything. We only had 2 days of preparation for the final. For us, it was phenomenal that all the pressure was on England. They just beat the best team in the world. The focus was almost just on them. And from you know how the English media can be, is the Rose just needs to pitch up and they pick up the trophy. So that was great for us. We got extremely lucky from Sinclair getting injured. You know how important prop is. Your KPI is quite high if you lose your first rated prop quite quickly in the game. And that made it exaggerated our decision to go with a 6-2 split as well. So that meant we can change almost a whole pack at halftime. And that's why we had such a big dominance at scrum time. And you had Bongi, France, and BC extremely hungry to scrum, and they knew they only had 40 or 45 minutes on the pitch. So it was good luck to the England boys, and that made a big difference.
When they go off, you got someone like Kitsov coming on. I mean, and
Marks. Yeah, you had Kitsi, Marks, and Vinny. Mr. Incredible. So then those three came on, and then you had RG, that's a big giant of a human being, with Mossi that doesn't have Franco Mossi that doesn't have an engine that doesn't stop working. So from that perspective, it was unbelievable. And Franco Low is a pest on the ground. I mean, he's one of the best ball sealers in the world. So it's like you would say, on both sides of the ball, but he was fantastic.
But I see they want to change the bomb squad now, and they want to take away the amount of subs that you're allowed to bring on. How's that going to change? Obviously, it's going to change the game for South Africa a lot, but from an injury perspective, from playing, how's that going to change the whole game?
Yeah, I don't know if South Africa wins the World Cup for the first time in 12 years, they want to change the rules. If New Zealand wins it twice in a row, they don't want to change anything. I think it adds to the game to have impact players to open a game up. And we always said with the bomb squad is they're there to throw the bomb down, open things up, and play a brand of rugby that we can enjoy. And that's exactly what they did. It wasn't just on from a scrumming perspective, a mauling perspective. They literally just made it a beautiful game to watch. It would be sad if they want to stop the bomb squad. But I just think the game has changed, and as Eddie even said back in the day, you don't just win a game with 15 players. You need all 23, and I think Rassie perfected that. He took a gamble with going with a 6-2 squad, and luckily we had France saying they can play almost every position in the back. So he picked a 23-man squad that were very versatile, and we got lucky. Andre Pollard, I think, had a fracture in his eye socket that he kept on playing with. Willie broke his, I think it was something in his shoulder. But they were tough little they were tough boys and kept on playing through the pain.
Well, I was actually saying, I think it was last week or the week before, is that you have to, I think people need to lose the stigma about the first 15 players on the field are the best players and the players coming off the bench are the second best. So I think they need to change that in their own mind. It's not that anymore. It's not even just the 23 anymore. It's actually the whole, 31-man squad that went to Japan, the way that you keep rotating them. So it's not about the best and second best. It's literally about what is your role in that team and how you manage your players to stay fit through a 7-week competition. So I think that for me is the thing that I needed to change, and I think other people also need to start realizing that.
I think that's a big thing.
We're losing you again, Schalk, but this is such an important answer. Yeah. So I'm hoping that Schalk will come back to answer us that question, because I think that for me is very, very important, and how rugby has changed throughout the years. And he needs to come back, because I also wanted to ask him about Rassie a little bit more. But I'm seeing a few questions. Are you back with me, Schalk?
Hi, I'm back.
Okay, start your answer again, because that's such an important one.
I think Rassie was from the beginning spoke about a squad system, as where do you fit into the squad, and he always said I don't need 23 players, I need 31 players, and we're probably going to need 35 with injuries during the season. That's why he rotated the squad. Even if you think about our first game of 2019, we played Australia at home, and he put a whole new squad, and the other squad flew to New Zealand in advance. So that was a big thing, is having 35 players that can slot in tomorrow.
And talking about Rassie, I personally didn't think Rassie was the right man for the job when he took over, and I think a lot of South Africans felt the same way as me. Not sure if the players felt the same way, but definitely changed my mind, and he's won so much of our respect. And you being one of the more senior players in the team, I'm just going to keep saying that. But so obviously it came out now that he was sick in that time, and he was in chemotherapy and that whole situation. And I'm assuming that you were one of the players that knew about that up front, and while you were there, how did he deal with it? How did you guys help him through that? How incredible was that?
Yeah, he told us about his sacrifice. He didn't speak a lot about it, and for me it was just amazing seeing that he wanted to have one final shot. It wasn't just a question about, in the beginning it was about winning rugby games, but then it later on became a thing of giving hope, of being stronger together, and that was actually the bigger thing. Is with most World Cups, or I can't say 2007, so I wasn't there, when we got together and said, listen, our country's having a tough time. We've got corruption, we've got a lot of deaths, we've got an unemployment of 30%, and we need to change things in South Africa. It's not just about a rugby game anymore. It's about people that needs hope. And then in the team, we shared a lot of personal stories, and that was a beautiful thing about our team. Is if you look at our team, about our backgrounds, everyone is different from a racial perspective, from where you grew up, your religions. Everyone was different, but that was the amazing thing. We embraced our differences and said, let's show our country that we can be different, but we can be successful. And then it became a bigger thing, and that was a beautiful thing about the 2019 World Cup. It's not just about winning a trophy, but showing our country that irrelevant of your religion, your background, or whatever, if you embrace each other's differences, we can create something magical.
So what will South Africa, or the Springboks as a team, need to change to be able to win a back-to-back World Cup? So it sounds perfect now, and it sounds like everything is perfect and it sounds amazing, but it's not. Look, we have to be honest. We were not necessarily the favorites going in. We were not the best team going in. You need a little bit of luck on your side to win a World Cup. But what would need to change now for us to win a back-to-back World Cup? So we know
Well,
we've
we
got
we,
we've
we
got
have
Rassie.
we have to start playing rugby first to stay on the ratings.
Yeah.
I think Jock, with Jock taking over and Rassie still being involved, it's the first time ever that you actually got a bit of consistency. We've always said that you need a planning process, like in any corporate business, on any team. You need to make sure that there's succession planning, and I think that was done well. So that's the first right tick. A lot of the players are still going to be there. What I would like is seeing players more playing at home, but unfortunately, from financial constraints, the rand is terrible. The structure isn't too great currently, and you have to see other players play abroad a bit more. That's a negative. The positive is they gaining so much intellectual property abroad that I can say one of the amazing things getting back into the Springbok side, you had a Dwayne that played in France. You had a Fafa playing in England. So everybody comes together and brings a bit of IP that they've seen abroad. And together, all that different IP, and with Rassie taking charge, that made us better. So asking the question is, how can we keep on doing what we're doing? Hopefully our prep can be as good as it was for the World Cup. Normally under normal constraints with windows or test windows, you don't have the time. And in 2019 we had time, 2018 we had time. And remember, 2018 when we took, or not we, when Rassie, Jock and the coaching squad took over, we were 7th or 8th in the world. We had record losses against Ireland and against New Zealand, and we had to come back from there trying to go up. And I think we only lost one game in 2019, or drew one game. I can't remember. And then 2018 at the end of the year, well, I think we lost against Wales and narrowly against England. So we were on an upwards curve, and that was always the focus, is playing great rugby. Sometimes you just play a great game, you still lose from a stats perspective. But yeah, so structures, make sure you've got up and coming players coming through. I think we can do a lot more for development. We want to enforce transformation, but how do you do that? You make sure you put academies in place, you put schooling in place to bring out the best rugby players. The Eastern Cape is a breeding ground for unbelievable rugby players. Go wherever and make sure that the structures is in place. And unfortunately, I don't want to become too political about this, but make sure that the system is in place to give the possibility for the players to come through.
And well, you can get political, obviously, but tell me again, why are you not going into coaching and staying in the rugby again? Because it seems like you've got such a passion for it, and you know how to work with the youngsters, and you know how to, like, again, being the senior player and mentoring these youngsters in the team. Come on.
Yeah, I love, as I say, I love the kids and the younger players. They're so passionate about rugby. And one beautiful thing about rugby is, if you look at most people, for example, I played rugby because I love it. The kids coming through that's playing rugby, they didn't start playing rugby because they want the money. They started playing rugby because they like picking up a ball, tackling someone. Francholo liked stealing. Dwayne Vermeulen liked running over people. So they're very passionate about their sport. So that's a beautiful thing. If you can keep them grounded, understand that rugby is actually a very short career and you must make the most and live life, then it's easy to work with these guys. Where in corporate, it isn't always the same thing. You sort of fall into a job and then you have to stay, then you become part of the rat race. When rugby, it's totally different. And you've got a lot of free time as a rugby player. But no coaches. And unfortunately, I've played under coaches that done everything perfectly, but we just as players weren't ready or mature enough to play on that level, and we lost, and the coach got fired, unfortunately. But so it's a high risk and reward kind of job.
What was that?
It was a mosquito. I hate mosquitoes.
So talking about these coaches now. So obviously we're exactly a year out from the Lions tour. Actually, the 24th next year will be our first test match against the Lions. What is going on with Gatlin? Do you think it's a mistake that he is the coach for the Lions tour, especially with what's happening at the Chiefs now? What are they going to do?
It is very interesting for me that he is coaching in the Southern Hemisphere, and I would have liked him being there, closer to the players. I mean, his head is now on Super Rugby, and I mean, I know the players up north. They're going to come here. I mean, how amazing is it that you've got the Lions world champs playing against the Lions, World Cup winners? Unfortunately, I think, and this is just my opinion, I don't know what the future may bring, but our prep won't be good going into this. We may play a couple of test matches if we're lucky, or maybe it can be our first game will be against the Lions. That is there's a possibility for that. The one thing that I do know is a lot of the English players are still sore from, or they want revenge coming back to South Africa. And what better way to do that than beating the Springboks at home? And of course, just doing a tour in South Africa. South Africa is an unbelievable place, and they want to come and give us a go.
I can't wait for that. Really, really can't. But obviously, the team is not going to change much. And I wanted to ask you a question about Pieter Stift du Toit. I don't understand the craziness around Pieter Stift du Toit. I don't understand why people are saying that he's the best player in the world. I personally think, and what I was saying before about the lock loose forwards that New Zealand and Australia are actually playing now, is that not kind of what we should rather get Pieter Stift to do, playing lock but having that more mobile lock? Because I think as a flank and as a loose forward, we're actually losing a lot of what he can really do.
I would, for you, that's quite focused on stats. I would go and look. So Rassie is very strong on statistics. And we at meters, or you don't have access to that, but how much meters he does in a game. And that's not just on running, is how quick he gets up, get backs in the line, how many tackles he makes, how many cleans he makes, how many holes he just closes. And the Pieter Stift's secret is what he does off the ball. And I know people want to see flashier players as World Rugby Player of the Year, but that guy is just phenomenal. I would not play him anywhere else as blindside. We haven't had a great blindside player. He fulfills that role. He brings the extra jumper into the lineouts. He's a great scrummager. And the way we play from a Springbok perspective, we play percentages, and he's a perfect fit. If you play like New Zealand, I would say no. But for how we play as the Springboks, dominate with a pack, play in the right areas of the pitch, don't waste our forwards' energy. He was just phenomenal. I mean, Rassie won't give you this, but no, I'm almost guessing I'm blowing smoke up his ass. But it's literally, I've asked the same question a lot of times, and seeing what he brings on the pitch, there's not a lot of players that can do what he does.
You say that I look at talking about stats, and I actually went to look at his World Cup stats because I had this argument with someone before. And when you actually look at it, he's not in the top 5 of any of those things for any of the World Cup players. Not with his run meters, not with his tackles, not with anything. So that's what I don't understand. So that's what I'm asking someone that played with him, is what does he bring as a player? And that's so special that he should win World Player of the Year when he's not topping any of those stats in the game. So for me, personally, I didn't see it.
It's a very good point. I don't know who does the stats in your side, but in our team, he was consistently on contribution made. So we don't look just at tackles, we look at total contribution through a game. So for example, how many tackles, how many cleans, how many ball carries, and then you would merge all those stats together and get to total contributions in a game. And he was he was I think by far one of the most involved player. So Rassie would always say, I don't want a player to just make 5 great things and not make one mistake. I want you to make 100 things, make 20 mistakes, but at least 8 of them is good things. So from that perspective, maybe he wasn't the highest tackler count. He wasn't the most meters or the most cleans or the most. But if you all those you take like Cheslin, his points of difference is just his side swing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can still ask you a million questions about the players in the team, but we do have a few questions from some of our viewers, and I'm sure Mbolelo also wants to ask you something. Because I think Mbolelo is also there, and he still also wants to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, interesting chat. Schalk, one thing I wanted to get from your side, first of all, hey, great jawline. I wanted to tell you that. I was just looking now. I was like, that guy's got a great jawline. You're a handsome son of a gun. Let me just tell you that.
Why can you say it, but I can't say it?
Ooh. You could have. It is very grey, though.
No, but great jawline. Great jawline. Could be Captain America. Love it. Good for you. Good for your wife, by the way, because you're great arm candy, I'm pretty sure. So good for the whole family. Schalk, one thing I wanted to touch on before we started to talk about questions from our listeners was, your game was absolutely electrifying quite early on. And I mean, you came up with the name that shall not be spoken, of course, Luke Watson, sort of that era, that dynamic sort of SA player who wasn't looking for contact, or to me, I mean, you could probably answer this, but you didn't strike me as the type of guy who was looking for contact. You were looking for space, and you were looking to put people into space. I mean, you could have almost played center, and I think you did once or twice. Talk to me about, do you feel more value could have been extracted out of you if you were in New Zealand? And do you regret that, or do you love being the oak from Paarl who was just ravaging everyone, and you had the privilege to play for the Boks?
Yeah, for me, I'm very proud South African, and I wanted to wear the Springbok shirt. Unfortunately, we are not fascinated. What's the right word? We are obsessed with size. And when I was growing up, Jake wanted big guys, and that rightly so. He won a World Cup. Who am I to say? That he was wrong, or not wrong, that he wanted something different. For me, it was always, I played rugby because I loved it. I wanted to offload, I wanted to sidestep, and for me, it was just a mental shift to say, okay, fine, I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but I can run into the small gaps, and that's how I probably played for 20 years. I gave the ball to big guys like Dwayne and Eben and say, you run into the ball and I'll offload. I think that was just a clever decision from myself. And now I can still run around with my boys.
Winner. It's like having a scrum half at hooker. Winner, chicken. Hey, smarts. Because I saw you held up just now. So you're an accountant, huh? Is that where we headed, or how far are you through that whole thing?
I studied management accountancy at Stellenbosch, finished up, and then I thought before I do the real world, I'll play 1 year of rugby. And myself, a guy called Aaron Sebear, we finished our studies, went to the Lions, and thought we're going to play 1 year of rugby, and kept on going for about another 15 years. But it was never thought I'll be a professional rugby player like I am now, or was rather.
Hey, I have to tell you from a very honest place. We had one of your alumni, in that he's a Bok as well, Flip van der Merwe. I mean, he's at Oxford, and to me, when I see you guys, Cambridge. I shouldn't, apologies there, Flip, if you are watching.
Yes.
Yeah, he's at Cambridge. Apologies. I love to see smart rugby players, because I think there's always been that stigma that, and you can correct me, I mean, you went to Paarl. I went to a very different type of boys' school. But you guys was there a stigma that being smart isn't, and to be a little bit more serious about it, is being smart wasn't cool, being in the first team rugby was, and that comes with a certain image? Or have you always been a guy who, being smart, maybe your family was always smart? Where did that come from? And
Yeah, firstly, to make sure that I'm not from Paul, I'm from Stellenbosch, so that's got to be
Uh,
a big difference.
sorry,
Uh,
did you not go to Paul
I'm
though?
a, no, I'm a Porous boy. A
Paul
Porous
Oh,
boy.
sorry. Hands up.
But see, the next thing I'm going to get is how do you know a guy's from Porous if he tells you he's from Porous? But okay, but anyway, as
Not yet a judge. This is a
Porous
safe
boy,
space. This is a safe space.
as a in the school they actually promoted balance, and for me it was always great. I'm definitely not a clever boy. I'm just a hard worker. The Flip is a very clever boy, and the funny thing is, we would have studied together this year at Cambridge. I got accepted on the same course that he's doing currently,
Oh, let's
but
go.
unfortunately,
Let's go.
the World Cup got in the way.
Wow. Okay, so you're a Cambridge guy. Hey, listen. I was gonna tell you, you used to be one of my favorite Springboks of all time, but now you're more handsome than I am, and you're able to get into Cambridge. You're going down because I am insecure. Man, I am so happy to hear that. And let's keep spreading that gospel, brother. Just because you're in a, I think going to see what SA Rugby can do about keeping you in the system, because these kids need to see that it's not just about the flash lifestyle. This thing ends, and your brain, that lasts till 50, right? 60, 70, your brain's always going to be all right. So, hey, big up to you. I hope, listen, next thing I want to do is me, you, Flip van der Merwe. Let's go watch that race, the boat race. Because I've been twice, so I need to go once more, but I need to hang out at some Springboks just for the street cred.
What kind of boat race are you talking about? There's a couple that I've seen different.
Listen, let me tell you something. No jokes about that. No jokes about that. 2 races I've been to, I've basically missed both of them because I won the other boat race. Trust me. I know. So I know what you're talking about. And listen, I had to stop doing the other one. Otherwise, my parents were paying all that money for me to go to that boat race, and I'd miss the whole thing. So no. Definitely just watch the race on the water. I'll leave the drinking to you guys, to you Cambridge guys. I have no brain cells left to lose. I could barely listen. I could barely get into high school. Forget about Cambridge. Yeah, forget about Cambridge. I could barely get into high school. Schalk, you've been so gracious with your time, my brother, and I absolutely love. First of all, congratulations. You're a world champion. That'll last forever. Seems like you're a family guy now, because I'm loving your Instagram and your social media. You touched on the family thing. Is that it now? Are you super dad and Cambridge guy now?
Well, I haven't started at Cambridge, so it got postponed till this year, or they've extended the invitation to this year. I wasn't expecting COVID to happen, so still a decision to be made. The unfortunate thing is with last year, I only slept in 8 months. I only slept 15 days at home. So the takes off the gloss of being a professional rugby player. So for now, it's amazing building the relationship again with my boys, being at home. And my wife still works in the UK, and she flies up and down. Before COVID, I flew quite a bit to the UK. So for me, it's just for once having a family, doing what normal people do on weekends, watch a bit of rugby, have a braai, do things like that. That's things that I've couldn't do for quite a long time, and I'm embracing this. And Remgo's giving me the opportunity to get into corporate finance, venture capital, to find my feet and see where I'm good at.
Hey, that's awesome. Say hi to, I don't know if you're working with Jason down there or you're working with old Mr. Rupert himself, but that's awesome. There is no better place to start. So congratulations to you, brother. Love to see a 360-degree human being, man. I can't wait. I'm excited for you because you're a great South African. You are a great South African. The type of energy, everything I've read about you is character, honestly. And I've spoken to a few guys. They say you're all about character. So I'm excited to have you represent us in the corporate world.
Yeah, well, I can say you a bit of eye candy for me too.
Hey, listen. People are saying the black Schalk Brits. I'm getting WhatsApp. People are saying the black Schalk Brits, and I'll take it.
Then I just need the glasses and I'm ready to go.
Let's go, Schalk. All right, listen, champ. Before we let you go, you're awesome, man. Let's take some questions from the public, Dave, and we'll let Schalk go. What's the first one? What we got there, Dave? Schalk, FD Dixon says, you played for Saracens, Bulls, Stormers, and the Box. How different is it playing for each team?
We had a tough time at the Stormers. I actually played for the Lions as well. My first chance I got. But playing for the Stormers is quite a laid-back sort of culture back then. And Cape Town is just a great place to live. Yeah, sometimes rugby wasn't too important in Cape Town. Going to Saracens, it was absolutely amazing. I loved London. I loved the travel. And from a team perspective, they went on they played by facts. And I think that was one of the reasons why we were so successful. Everything was analyzed from the amount of meters you run in training. They measured how much you jump, how many reps you do, how much contact. It was very scientific. And that's one of our secrets to Saracens and how they treated us. It's the first place ever that I didn't felt like a commodity. I felt like a human being, and they looked after the family. So that was massive. And then going back to the Bulls this last 6 months, I had the feeling that they're trying to change. They're trying to bring a different culture in. I can't say for the years when they were so successful, but now the one I had there, it was 6 months. I got pulled in from the Pretoria crowd, and it was great fun. But for me, by far, Saracens was an eye-opener. They spoke about effort error, skill error. They spoke about treating people like human beings, looking after the family. I will be forever grateful. So that's not just, it was probably one of the best rugby decisions and life decisions I've ever made.
That's amazing. When you were there, was it Toje starting out there? Because I think he's the next one for SA Rugby as the pin-up boy. Could you see straight away, like, there's trouble coming?
I think the guy's phenomenal. He was a 19-year-old kid arriving there. And I know he's got some athleticism, but he was doing pull-ups with a 60-kilogram weight around his waist. And not just one pull-up, a couple of those. And he was just a phenomenal athlete. I mean, what he can do I'm not saying just as a rugby player, but as an athlete, he was quick, he was strong, and the big thing is he's clever. He's extremely clever and hardworking. And that's a dangerous combo. Talent and hard work together with the brain on top. I mean, he studied, I think, African politics. I'm not exactly sure if he studied something like that. And it was great having a debate with him, great chatting with him. And I would be quite surprised if he's not the Lions captain coming here next year.
Hey, I mean, I read that his mom basically had that lock on him. After rugby, you come home. Like, there's none of this. Apparently, she had that lock. Hey, listen, West African mothers, right? You don't mind about them, of course.
Yeah, and he's proudly Nigerian as well. So it's just a great guy. Although he hasn't been back often, he does go back every now and then. But he's one special human being.
Ah, that's amazing. Dave, what we got next? Senzo says, who's the toughest opponent you've ever faced?
I'm talking about hookers abroad. Kevin Mialamo has been by far, when I was coming through, one of the best players on and off the pitch. Then the dirtiest hooker I've ever played against is Dylan Hartley. By far.
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, but in general, there's a lot of things that happens in the scrum that you don't talk about. But from a rugby perspective, opposition, Dylan Hartley, dirtiest, most respectful, and always keen for beer afterwards. Kevin Mialamo, he would play a tough game and then afterwards have a chat, and that's how I like guys. I mean, on the pitch, You try to smash the living crap out of each other in a fair way, and then afterwards you go, well done. Sometimes I win, sometimes you win, kind of thing.
So this Hartley guy, like, how good was he that he kept getting away with being this dirty? Because some of the stuff, obviously, we saw the gouging, we saw, how good was he that they kept picking him?
I don't think he got away with a lot. He did get banned a lot in his career, and that is just the things that he got caught for. So he was extremely dirty. I think the thing is, he is a good leader. Well, I think he was a good leader. I never played under him or played always against him when he was Northampton's captain, and sometimes for England, but I don't know what value he added. But off the pitch, totally different to on the pitch. There's a switch, I guess, and he becomes a real when he gets on the pitch.
Yeah. He is something else. And, I've listened to his interviews lately. Looks like the guy's developed into a completely different character. And like you say, a completely different dude off the field. So I'm not sure if you've seen his latest interviews. Go check those out on Facebook. It's been very interesting to hear him talk about his struggles as a youngster and why he had that edge. Like, he couldn't turn it off. And it's very interesting to hear from somebody who played against and with him. Stevie Wunderbar says, Schalk, you mentioned that Super Rugby isn't looking like Test Rugby. We touched on what is the difference. Is there an actual difference in terms of quality, or is it just the structure?
Stevie, it is mostly that you get penalized a lot more for errors. Where in the Northern Hemisphere, normally with the rain conditions, it is if you make a mistake in your own 22, it's either points against you or you take 15 minutes or 10 minutes to get out of your own half. Where in the Southern Hemisphere, you can make a mistake and then run up the field and score try on the other side, kind of thing. So that's a big thing, is you're getting penalized for errors. And field position is so much more important Northern Hemisphere like it is in the Southern Hemisphere.
Very interesting. Schalk, we're going to give you one more question and then we'll let you go so you can go and enjoy your time with your family. As you said, it's been an absolute pleasure. Vincent De Vet says, do you think the guys still remember how to play? Do you think the guys will still remember how to play the game when we start playing again?
I don't know, Vincent. I hope so. I hope so. It's the one thing I can tell you is that the boys don't like the fitness test anymore. They want to get stuck onto the rugby pitch. It is quite weird. I guess for most rugby players, speaking to the boys currently, is getting back into contact. As a rugby player, the longest I would say, if not when you're injured, but a normal player, you would have a December holiday from, I think, the 15th till the 5th of Jan, and then he would be straight into contact again. So not even a month. Now they've got a big, almost time that they didn't have contact. Your body gets conditioned to have contact. It is, even now, I mean, I can feel my body's getting soft. I don't know if it's age or not going to the gym, but I mean, you get used to all this.
No, you're a Cambridge guy now.
Those kind of things.
You're a Cambridge guy now. You're a Cambridge guy. Yeah, we know how soft you get. Yeah, we understand. Hey, Schalk Brits, you're the best. Bro, I will have you back on here anytime. You're absolutely the best, bro. And I'm so proud to have had you represent us as South Africans, because, if 2 or 3 people had said, yes, he's just a good guy, forget about the rugby player. But I've honestly, guys heard tonight that I've got Schalk Brits on, 1 or 2 players that have played with you, said legend character. And that's big, brother. That's big. You're a legend. And I'm proud to have had you represent us as a South African.
I'll make a deal with you. I'll come back on the show if we can have a boat race and you beat me with a boat race.
Listen, I didn't tell you. I'm not that guy anymore. Listen, I had to choose between winning those boat races and going on holiday with my mom. With the amount of drinking I used to do. Listen, with the amount of drinking I used to do, there's not much space left in my body. And I told you, I only have so many brain cells left.
Yeah, me too. I'm the same. Too many bumps against the head. Concussions.
Says the guy that just got into Cambridge. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the great world champion, Saracens legend, Bulls legend, played for the Lions, Man, you are the best. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Schalk Brits. Thank you so much, Schalk.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite. Lots of love.
Absolutely. Always welcome. Much love to you, brother. Absolute legend. Ladies and gentlemen, he took us to the very top of the mountain. Remember, when we talk about character, Rassie Erasmus, he's spoken about it, made him the captain of that second side. One of the captains in the dressing room, part of the leadership crew, and he's told you now he's working at the top end of corporate. Character will carry you through life. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're playing rugby, you have a family, you're going corporate. It doesn't matter. If you've got character, we can teach you the rest. Absolutely proud to have that man as a South African, and English people will think, oh, that's what South Africans are like. Absolutely brilliant. So Schalk Brits, thank you very much. And to you at home, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for this evening. It has been a different ballgame.